Hi, I'm Sean. I run the website dishonorablespeechandpolitics.com. Today I want to talk about a very serious subject, mass shootings. In particular, how everyday dishonorable speech may contribute to the likelihood of such events. Just a disclaimer, I'm not going to talk about gun control here, other than to say that I hope someday people on opposite sides of that issue can discuss it honorably, in particular while being respectful of each other and of opposing views on the subject. Now, for those YouTube viewers who like to get to the punchline quickly, here's my list of 8 categories of dishonorable speech that I believe may help create an environment in which mass shootings are more likely. In creating this list, I consulted Louis Claravas's book Rampage Nation to get some insight into the profile of a mass shooter, i.e., what kinds of people do these sorts of things and possible reasons why. And I made my list in part to help people see how their own dishonorable speech could possibly contribute to bringing about real-world violence, in this case in the form of mass shootings. My ultimate goal is to help reduce the likelihood of such events, not to blame anyone for them. Speaking of blame, I believe the number one thing you can change about the way you speak if you want to reduce the likelihood of mass shooting events is to blame others less. I should also say that the views expressed here are my own opinions. You don't have to agree with them, and I welcome and appreciate feedback and respectful disagreement in the comments for this video if you'd like to leave some. That said, here are some of the categories of dishonorable speech I believe could make mass shootings more likely. Number 1. Name-calling and insults, such as weirdo, freak, and loser, may contribute to an environment in which mass shootings are more likely by making some kids and young adults feel alienated. Kids can say some nasty things to each other. I believe they're primarily motivated by wanting to feel better themselves, and they're confused about how to really do that. Where do kids learn this behavior ultimately? From confused adults. Yes, I said it, most of us adults, myself included, are confused in one way or another. We're confused, for example, in not fully seeing the negative consequences of our dishonorable speech and thus thinking they don't exist. By the way, this is dishonorable speech category number 1 on my list of 37 categories of dishonorable speech. Another thing about name-calling is that it can dehumanize people, which can make it easier to commit violence against them, in my opinion. For instance, how do you feel about punching an a-hole in the gut versus a confused and fearful person who feels like if they don't get their way, they somehow won't be okay? Our choice of words do matter. A second contributor, and in my opinion a huge one, to the likelihood of mass shootings is words of blame, such as "you guys are the source of my problems." Whenever we blame others, we support this mentality, the mentality that I believe many mass shooters take to an extreme. We're always teaching others with our behaviors, teaching what's okay to do, and even if we say it's not okay but still do it, it can have the effect of coming off as somehow okay, I believe. One form of blame that I think is pervasive in our society is that someone doing or saying something is why we feel angry or upset. It's not. Check out Happiness is a Choice by Barry Neal Kaufman for just one example of the multiple books out there that talk about this. If everyone knew, I mean really knew, that they were the source of their own emotions, and trying to change things in the outside world was an inconsistent and inefficient path to making themselves feel better, I think mass shooting events would be much less likely. Blaming is dishonorable speech category number 14. A third possible contributor is dishonorable speech category number 20, mocking. Mocking is another way we try to put people down, often to try to feel better about ourselves. When we mock someone, it generally doesn't inspire them to want to be nice to us in return, does it? Neither in words nor actions. Dishonorable speech category number 21, being disrespectful, such as being condescending and not acknowledging that someone has spoken, or even acknowledging their existence, can contribute to someone feeling less than, and like they have to prove that they're more than. I believe it's a terrible thing when someone feels like they have to commit an act of violence as some misguided last-ditch effort to prove that they matter. All people matter, whether others acknowledge that or not. A fifth contributor I hypothesize is gossip. Gossip is rarely meant to raise someone up, it's often to bring people down. Experiencing people trying to bring each other, and maybe you, down, seems more likely to inspire a desire for retaliation than perceiving people as wanting to raise each other up, doesn't it? This is dishonorable speech category number 26. Dishonorable speech category number 27 is promoting conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories can promote paranoia and delusion and are a sixth contributor to the likelihood of mass shootings, I believe. I suspect that some people spread conspiracy theories not because they really believe them, but because they think they're fun, like fun to try to stir things and people up a little. I would invite those people to find other ways to have fun, my personal favorite being dad jokes, because I imagine it suddenly becomes a lot less fun if someone you helped stir up ends up being a mass shooter. Is it your fault if they do? No. But I do think you share in the responsibility, if even in small part, with your dishonorable speech, So this is something to consider. Category number 32 is when the media publishes the names and or photos of mass shooters or alleged mass shooters. This tends to promote other people doing something similar because they may be motivated by going from a nobody, which is not true, to somebody whose name most people know. Is the media bad for doing this? No. But what they publish has real effects, and I think it's good to call attention to potential negative effects we may be, at least in part, responsible for. For all of these categories, by the way, one could argue about the size of their effects, but I believe regardless of size, they're worth trying to decrease. An eighth possible contributor, and the final one on my list, is promoting hate and prejudice. This really comes back to another form of blame, that some racial group or religious group or sexual orientation or economic class or social group is the cause of my problems, perhaps inspiring someone to do something destructive against members of that group. This is dishonorable speech category number 33. There are probably other ways that dishonorable speech could contribute to the likelihood of mass shootings, but I think this list is a good start. And I'm not saying that dishonorable speech is the only contributor to mass shootings. Dishonorable actions can also contribute, of course, as can other factors such as environmental ones. I hope this video helped to elucidate some mechanisms of how dishonorable speech, even your dishonorable speech, could contribute to bringing about mass shootings. And if I can leave you with one thing to change about the way you speak that I believe if enough people did it, it could have a significant impact on making mass shootings less likely, it's to express less blame. Your choice of words to not blame other people for how you feel could help inspire others who would have otherwise thought blame was quite normal. And without blame, the motivation to hurt others in a misguided attempt to make oneself feel better should become much less likely, I believe. Thank you for watching.